Under the sea, under the sea, onto the sea, onto the sea, onto the sea, and I just can't wait to be king. Fuck, he was a crab. These are lobster claws. Really sweaty now. Justin, come here. Because I'm so sweaty. Come and look how sweaty I am. I'm trying to wick it off, but there's no absorbency on the claws.
Yeah.
In fact, the harsh rubber is making the skin irritated. Come and wick me. Actually, no, COVID, stay where you are. I'm not saying you've got it. Anyway, the point is, I'm pro-abortion.
And that's the intro!
So, Microsoft bought Bethesda, or rather, Microsoft bought Zenimax, the parent company of Bethesda. Zenimax, by the way, was a shit company run by shit-headed shitheads. Zenimax is notorious for its many legal tangles, including the time it infamously went after Mojang to stop it calling a game Scrolls because it owned the Elder Scrolls, as well as the bitter legal tussle against Facebook over the creation of Oculus's VR tech. Zenimax, acting sometimes through Bethesda, absolutely loves getting lawyers involved. In the past, Zenimax has been involved in lawsuits and/or legal threats against its own co-founder, against former Fallout rights holder Interplay, the game Prey for the Gods because it had Prey in the title, a YouTuber for calling their game Fortress Fallout, and an individual Fallout fan artist who produced and gave away fan art. Then there was that time Bethesda blocked the sale of a pre-owned game, which they said they could do because the game being sold had been unopened. Zenimax was also an aggressive consumer of smaller companies, which is fitting given the catalyst for this video column. Zenimax is reported to have viciously gone after Human Head Studios, the company responsible for the original Prey, and a version of Prey 2 that we never got but looked fucking great. According to the allegations, Zenimax and Bethesda were deliberately undermining Prey 2's development, setting Human Head up to fail milestones with unreasonable deadlines and feature requests, stifling their ability to receive additional money, and applying constant pressure in terms of time and cash to render Human Head vulnerable. It's not like Zenimax's desires here were a secret. It wanted a studio with id Tech experience, and Human Head knew this, having to resist as it did a direct buyout offer. This puts into new light Bethesda's unseemly public derision of its own game when it ran around in 2013 actually telling the press that Prey 2 wasn't good. And I mean, Bethesda didn't just say it wasn't up to high quality standards. PR mouthpiece Pete Hines actively ripped into the game, saying, "We appreciate that folks are displeased that we haven't had any update or any info on Prey 2, but whatever your displeasure is, you can't even be remotely as unhappy about it as us. We spent years and millions of dollars and a ton of effort trying to help Human Head make a great Prey 2 game. What we said the last time we said anything was that it's not up to our quality standards." It's like just that last bit was needed. I mean, the rest of it is cold. That's fucking Smirnoff right there. Rare is the time a publisher will actively point at a developer in public and say, "We gave them loads of money, we tried to help them, and they fucked it all up," which is in essence what Hines was saying. Jesus, SEGA didn't even say that to the press about Gearbox software, and SEGA literally legally fought Gearbox over churning out complete money draining bullshit. The uncharacteristic nature of the open belittling lends more than a little credence to the suggestion Bethesda and Zenimax wanted Human Head to fail, a claim Hines has denied by saying it makes no sense to put all that money into a failed project for what he called arbitrary reasons. But I don't know, it seems like a pretty straightforward plan. In fact, it's not an uncommon one, despite Hines' attempts to portray it as unusual. It's entry-level corporate bullying, break the studio into becoming your pet, and if it doesn't obey, have it shot and get a new puppy. This puppy in question being Arcane Studios, which, wouldn't you know it, was acquired in a hostile takeover by Zenimax. Arcane would eventually produce its own Prey 2, completely under the full control of Bethesda and its Taskmaster, giving Bethesda pretty much exactly what it wanted. Arcane took Zenimax's deal and survived, Human Head resisted and did not. Either way, Bethesda was up a studio, down a potential competitor, and eventually published Prey 2 just like it wanted. Whatever the reasoning, Bethesda won at the expense of an entire development studio. That's the end result. Maybe Pete Hines isn't lying when he says Bethesda wasn't trying to undermine a studio its parent company had a maliciously conflicted interest in, but he hasn't adequately answered charges he was lying when he said the gameplay Human Head showed off in 2011 was just a demo, rather than substantially developed content as they claim. And hey, we know he's got no problem telling blatant, swiftly disproven lies on Bethesda's part. It's kind of his job. When you actually go through Zenimax's history, you find a startling number of cases where people paid a penalty simply for being associated with them. This is fitting considering that up until his death, Donald Trump's brother Robert was on the board, and if there's one family that knows how to come out of dodgy, shitty, fucked up situations completely untouched, while everyone nearby suffers for knowing them, it's the Trumps. Former developers, business partners, company founders, Zenimax has never been afraid to inflict damage on anybody in its way. Maybe then it's for the best that Zenimax has been acquired by Microsoft, where one hopes its status as a subsidiary will limit its potential to cause further large-scale harm. Not that I'm expecting Zenimax to remain unable to fuck things up for a lot of people, but it'd be nice if the company fades more into obscurity and exerts less influence as a pawn of Microsoft. And speaking of, I suppose we should talk about the deal itself now that I've taken my opportunity to remind you all that Zenimax was a load of fucking bollocks and Bethesda, let's be honest, is no better. So, Microsoft bought Zenimax for a whopping $7.5 billion, making it one of the largest acquisitions in game industry history, and only really matched in terms of scale by deals done in the mobile gaming space. While this was going on, a lot of Americans are still getting by on the $1,200 they were given at the beginning of the pandemic. You don't need a semi-educated blowhard like me to tell you that this is a massive coup for the Xbox platform holder. Bethesda is one of the biggest and most well-known studio publishers in the world. Zenimax itself is a treasure trove of IP and lawsuit gains, and as friend of the show Laura Kate Dale pointed out, announcing this buyout just a day before Xbox Series whatever pre-orders went live was savvy as fuck. Certainly more savvy than the pre-order rollout, which just like the PS5 one was a complete fucking mess. I mean, how hard is it to say you're gonna do a thing and then you do the thing? You can navigate $7.5 billion worth of acquisition, but you can't tell Best Buy to sell a fucking Xbox on time? And don't dismiss me just because I'm making something that's nonetheless very complicated sound really easy, even though I couldn't plan a stink in a shit factory. I'm just saying that when you openly mock Sony for screwing up its pre-orders, don't then immediately screw up your own fucking pre-orders. Some of us have too much dignity to sit there refreshing retail pages for more than an hour and 20 minutes at most. I gave up after that point, and even though it's technically my job to try and get a hold of these stupid fucking machines, I really am struggling to be fucking bothered at this point. But thank you to all the viewers who have thus far said I could have a go on their PS5s when the ones they pre-ordered get in. I legitimately got a lot of emails with those actual offers. I appreciate the pity. We'll take any pity we can get these days. Microsoft's deal is worrying, insofar as I think everyone should be worried when a big corporation swallows another big corporation. I don't think this is cause for panic at the moment, but for concern. It's not an indication of terrible times ahead, but it's meritorious, I feel, of trepidation. This deal has far further reaching implications than the relatively trivial concern of whether or not the next Fallout will be an Xbox exclusive. This purchase is the video game equivalent of Disney getting its hands on Fox or something. It's not just a huge property movement with potentially dramatic effects on the distribution of intellectual property, it's a distinct and intimidating display of power. It's a tectonic shift in the industry that has seen one entity gain a tremendous amount of influence, and if there's one thing we've learned on this show over the years, it's that the less challenge there is to a corporation's influence, the more we have to worry about. I mean, Disney is straight up on track to achieving a de facto monopoly on entire genres of entertainment, and is so confident in its lack of balances that it can safely charge $30 for one movie on a streaming service it already charges for. Walt Disney's Frozen head yeeted over the fence. And when you consider those kind of outrageous liberties are undertaken by far less monopolistic companies in gaming, monopolistic? No, that was right. Where EA and Activision and Take-Two routinely indulge in money grubbery and outright rip-offs, I fear any one game publisher getting the level of sway Disney has in... Oh, hello there, Tencent. How are you today? What are you doing, Tencent? Why are you looking... No, stay where you are, Tencent. Just stay... Still, better Microsoft getting its hands on Bethesda's IP than any of those aforementioned publishers. Imagine if EA got its hands on Dishonored. It'd be a fee-to-pay nightmare. Or if Ubisoft took the Elder Scrolls and turned it into yet another generic Ubified open world. And what if Activision took the Fallout IP and made some microtransaction-filled, broken-ass live service style... In any case, very few companies within the game industry itself could have even dreamed of an acquisition this huge. Neither Sony nor Nintendo were anywhere close to a position where they could have done such a thing. Microsoft knows this, and is entering a new generation flexing its considerable financial muscle. This will only bolster a company that right now is earning far more positive attention than Sony's repeatedly botched and uncommunicative PS5 rollout strategy. Already seen as pricey for the product and lacking in any sort of wow factor or impressive selection of titles, it doesn't even have Bug Snacks as an exclusive. The PlayStation 5 is starting things the way the PlayStation 3 did, and that's not a good start at all. But then that's the cyclical nature of console generations. Seems Sony and Microsoft love to trade places each gen, and this time it's Microsoft's turn atop the mountain. Another interesting aspect to this acquisition is Microsoft's current approach to content distribution. As we've seen this past generation, over time Microsoft has been expanding the idea of the Xbox beyond hardware, attempting to make it a true multi-platform service. They made it a point to offer day-and-day cross-platform Xbox and PC releases, released more first-party titles onto rival consoles, and it's been pushing its Game Pass service onto other devices such as mobile phones. Mobile phones. Why did I just stop at mobile? Phones is right there in the script. While it's making for confusing marketing that they ought to address before they have a Wii U on their hands, the Xbox Series X and S designations play into that idea. Microsoft has openly declared in the past its interest in making Xbox the one-stop shop for entertainment. That's why the Xbox One was called the Xbox One. Microsoft saw its hardware being your sole destination for games, movies, and television. It didn't happen, because the Xbox One is a bit wank, let's be honest. However, Microsoft seems to be trying a different approach. Don't force us to come to the Xbox hardware for the Xbox service, but bring the Xbox service to us on what hardware we have. At first, it seems counterintuitive for a hardware seller to open up its services beyond the hardware, but can Microsoft lose either way? Either it sells a shit ton of Xboxes, or it sells a shit ton of games everywhere else. Ideally, it's hoping for both, and we all know the Xbox Series will sell regardless of the outward counterintuitivity. Whatever. Shiny consoles don't have to make sense to sell, they just have to shine nicer than the others, and I can't fucking pre-order one for love nor money, so it's safe to say they've flogged at least a couple units. With all this in mind, Microsoft can't lose with Bethesda either, which on its own is amazing. Bethesda and the inability to fail. Together in one room? Now that's a once-in-a-generation experience. More to the point, Microsoft could withhold the next Fallout or Elder Scrolls from other consoles. It could make some of the most beloved and popular games exclusive to the Xbox Series, and it could sell a fuck ton of hardware doing it. Or it could open distribution, put these games out on other systems. Sony wouldn't refuse it, it'd be downright grateful, and Microsoft could sell a fuck ton of games. Or it could do both, make Bethesda's games timed exclusive, sell a fuck ton of hardware, then put them out elsewhere and sell a fuck ton of games. This is a situation that could only be lost if Bethesda is somehow allowed to make an executive decision in all of this, and those times are perhaps long gone. Bethesda's gross incompetence and sleazy business deals might become a thing of the past, or at least dramatically lessened, as it answers to new taskmasters and dances to the tune of another, seemingly better put together company. Maybe the Bethesda dance is over. Well, we'll always have the music. There was fluff on the jacket the whole time. It's still there. Claws are useless for this purpose. No fixing that. Anyway, I haven't done a game recommendation in a while. I'll probably do impressions on it and maybe do some streaming on it. On Twitch TV/Jim Sterling. Change the channel name, it's not Jimquisition, it's Twitch TV/Jim Sterling. And then look at me. Yeah. Maybe put Twitch TV/Jim Sterling. Still really sweaty today. Oh yeah, Hades. Hades is the game. I have been playing it all week. Been laid up with that injury still. I shouldn't even be up. But as a concession, I am half lobster this week. But I've been playing Hades pretty much around the clock. And it's so fucking good. It's a roguelike, right? And before you go, oh god, another one. It's like, yeah, but also another one. So that's good. Supergiant, right? And it's the best thing they've ever done. And a lot of people like their stuff because they got nice music. And this has good music and also good voice acting. And lots of weapons, and it's really good. I'm too sweaty. Oh, it's because we didn't set the thermostat earlier. Oh, it's really warm in here. I'm going. I'm gonna set the thermostat. I mean, genuinely, that's what we haven't done, Justin. I mean, thank God for me and all that, but I mean, we did, but I don't think we gave it enough time because I think we set the thermostat, and then immediately I was like, well, let's get this done before the shopping. Because I know you've been tired. And
I don't know how to react to any of this.
Should probably just go then, yeah? Alright, yeah. Bye.